I'm here to tell you a story that you're going to want to listen to. I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to start with this man in front of me, Cyril Smith. I don't think he can hear you. Cyril Smith set up the abuse of Rochdale's children for a 35-year period. He abused Rochdale's boys under the guise, excuse me, officer.
Yeah.
Oh, not him again.
Let's start again. Cyril Smith, the biggest paedophile when it comes to young boys in the UK. He abused my brothers, he abused my friends, and he continued to do it unaided and the accomplices with it. And I'm going to tell you just who these people are today, from top to bottom. I'm going to tell you for the Rochdale, I can only speak on behalf of Rochdale, who was responsible for the abuse of the children of my town. That's what we're going to do here today. So the first one you've got is Cyril Smith. And we all know about them, don't we? Labour 25. So Cyril was a prominent member of these lot. He was also a member of PIE. Do we know who PIE is? The Paedophile Information Exchange. Cyril was one of the leaders of this party. This party, these guys infiltrated the Labour Party in the 80s. They're still there today. They told us it had disbanded in 86. It was a lie. You can tell with the amount of people who's been done through Labour 25, it's still very much alive and active today. The reason we know about No View is not because the police told us, it's not because the social services told us or the council, it's because people like Martin Deegan, who was a teacher at the school, who blew the whistle. Martin is a Rochdale and a UK legend. He's not here today, he struggles to come out into events like this, but believe me, you must show your appreciation for this man. This man is an absolute hero. Here, here. Now we've got the Queen, Linda Phillips. Sorry. Linda, for 45 years, was the only person to stand for those boys with No View. Some of them are not here today. Linda passed away in 2020. I canvassed with Linda for over 10, 15 years. She is the Iron Lady. She is the star that leads the way. She's not with us anymore. It breaks me heart to say it, but I wish she was, because the fight would be so much stronger if she was. She was called Mrs. Hemorrhoids because she was up the council's arse for that long. She's not with us anymore, and I just wanted to bring out today and pay tribute to this lady, because to me, she's the bar, the bench, which we all should reach for. Thank you. So, the first time it became public was because the former Rochdale MP, Simon Danchuk, decided to write a book called Smile for the Cameras. He released the book and then disappeared for 20 years. Well, we carried on campaigning. He hasn't been with us. He takes a lot of the credit for blowing the whistle. He wrote a book, he profited from it, and he did nothing following it. It's unacceptable. Therefore, that's why he gets stuck up with these lot today. Simon Danchuk, ladies and gentlemen. So, following Simon's book, we had the No View ICSA report, independent inquiry to child sexual abuse, where the horrors of No View became to light in a big way. It wasn't just Cyril, it was other people from Westminster and his friends, and friends within the Rochdale, and paedophilic friends from around the UK that was prolifically abusing these young boys. These boys was classed as naughty boys. It was a naughty boys school. Ladies and gentlemen, today that has been known as a special needs school. And they preyed upon these children for a 30-year period. Some of them took their own lives. I know some of these lads that are no longer here who hung themselves, who overdosed themselves, and for that somebody is accountable. We're going all the way back today, guys. The gloves are off, they're all having it. I'm going to tell you, everybody who enabled these people as we go along. Lord David Steele. Lord David Steele, the father of the Liberal Democrat Party, knighted Cyril Smith 5 years after knowing he was the most prolific paedophile in the party. He knighted him. For me, that is an accountable action. For me, that is enabling the abuse of children and facilitation of child abuse. He's again another person who must be in the dock and be held accountable for his failures. Paul Rowan, former MP of Rochdale, in Liberal Democrat, in the Nixon report, he made a statement to Nixon saying, I took the abuse by Cyril with a pinch of salt. It was widespreadly known. Everybody knew. Why wasn't he held to account for that? Because he was a politician? Just give this a minute, guys. Paul Rowan, Liberal Democrat MP for Rochdale, said he took the abuse that was accusations of abuse by Cyril Smith and others with a pinch of salt. As Member of Parliament, it was his duty to do something for them boys, and he decided not to do because it weren't politically helpful to himself. So again, he's another person who needs to be booed more, certainly, but needs to be held to account. Colin Lambert, the former council leader, also, along with Tony Lloyd, went to the Ixter inquiry and told the Ixter inquiry they didn't know much about what was going on with when it came to Cyril Smith and the abuse of young boys at Norview. I have official papers that puts him in a meeting in 2013 with Joseph Tony Lloyd, the former Police and Crime Commissioner for Greater Manchester. They had the full information about Norview and they did nothing with it, they buried it. So therefore, he finds himself on the page of enablers.
Hello Scouse, how are you doing? I can't really speak because I'm right.
Greater Manchester former Police and Crime Commissioner Tony Lloyd. Tony Lloyd is no longer with us, but he's not going to stop him from getting a smack in the mouth today from me. Tony Lloyd is not just responsible for the cover-up of Rochdale's grooming, he's also responsible for covering up for Greater Manchester grooming of children from the grooming gang. This guy had his hands in both pies. I met with this guy. This guy told me what's in the past is in the past. Absolutely not. We don't accept that. We'll continue to fight for accountability, justice and redress. Every time I see his face, man. Every time. So this is my arch nemesis, Richard Farnell, the former Labour Council leader of Rochdale Council. This guy was Cyril's right-hand man. This guy loved Cyril Smith like Cyril was his idol, and he continued to behave that way until his death last year. Richard Farnell was accused by the Ixter inquiry of lying about what he knew. He said he knew nothing about Cyril's abuse. It was his protege. He knew nothing about Norview. It was a lie. Ixter called him out on the lie. He lost his seat and disappeared until he died. But he deserves a massive boot, guys, this one. And may he rot in hell.
Yeah.
Keep that one second. Jim Dobbin. Jim Dobbin was MP for Haywood and Milton. Jim was also prolific in covering up the abuse of children right across the board. He was also the man who backed Cyril Smith to the hilt. Jim Dobbin is again no longer with us. Isn't it funny how they all die before they're held to account, guys? But that's not going to stop us. I told you the gloves are off. I meant it. I'll hit the dead ones as well. One thing. This is Elsie Blundell, the new MP for Haywood and Middleton. Elsie Blundell has something in common with some of the people I've spoken to. She was Simon Danczuk's secretary. She was Richard Farnell's secretary. She was Tony Lloyd's secretary. It's inconceivable she did not know about the abuse. She was in the meetings I was in to talk about the abuse. Yet she spoke up and said, and still continues to say nothing. She's just been elected as Labour Party's Minister for Children. She's another one that must be in the dock. She knew, she has the key, she has the answers. She was with all three of them people, and she knows full well what happened, and she decided to say and continues to say nothing. That for me, again, is accountable action. It's her duty to protect children. It's her duty to protect children in Rochdale. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. It finished in 2018. It exposed, I mean, there's other people here who probably argue, but it exposed one of the, for me, the biggest grooming scandals by a politician in the United Kingdom ever. Okay? You're talking about Ted Eve. You're talking about Cyril Smith. You're talking about Leon Britton. They was all involved in coming to Norview. When it came on top at Norview, they decided we're going to have to stop here because it's coming on top. So they moved it to the local toilets on Smith Street, where they was picking the young boys from Norview up from the toilet, calling them prostitutes. Let me just be clear, for those listening over there, for you guys here, there's no such thing as a child prostitute. It is just child abuse. The rhetoric must change, and it must change now. Diane Kavanagh, employed by Rochdale Council, Director of Education. Diane Kavanagh had an office facing Smith Street toilets. She could see it. It was a bit like this behind you. She could see the toilets from her office window. We have it on good testimony, and it's also in the Ixter inquiry that they was taking bets on who was the next lad in the door. This was the woman charged to protect these children. Again, unaccountable. Again, she's allowed to carry on, draw a big fat pension, retired, but I don't believe that she should be allowed to do that. I believe she should be held to account. Now we're going to move on, guys. We're going to skip. We've done Norview. We're going to go to the grooming scandals of Rochdale. We all know 3 girls. We all know that the TV programme that aired the 3 girls. We all saw exactly what went on in my town of Rochdale. The difference was it wasn't 3 girls. There was 49 girls in that one case. There was over 1,100 men involved, only 9 convicted. Don't tell me it's been done and dusted. Don't tell us there's been accountability. There's been no accountability. There's still many out there. There's still many out there walking around the streets of Rochdale, and those that were arrested, charged and convicted, came back and are still walking around the town today. I don't accept that, and I'll continue to fight for them to be removed from my town to protect further children and protect generations of children. Following the 3 girls, we then watched Betrayed Girls. Did anyone see it? Put your hand up if you saw it, guys. Yeah, Betrayed Girls told us who was responsible for the lack of action. It wasn't the South Council. It wasn't the police. It was us, the far right. That's who was responsible. It was the EDL's fault, not ours, nobody else's. They blamed Tommy Robinson because he's the one that came to Rochdale to protest about it. Unacceptable. And I'm not a Tommy fan, those of you know that, but I tell you what's happening to him now is absolutely despicable. So the whistleblower, aka alleged whistleblower, Sarah Redwolfham.
She knows it.
Yeah, so Sarah was manager of the Sexual Health Prevention Clinic. Her staff did the work and passed her a finalised dossier, which she sat on for 2 years until she gained a position within. She became deputy leader of the Labour Party in Rochdale Council after this. I'll tell you guys, it's the first time I've said this publicly, I work with 2 out of 3 girls. I've worked with them for the last 10 years. Not one of them have ever met Sarah Redwolfham in their life. That should tell you everything you need to know. She's a whistleblower who's lost her whistle. Maggie Oliver, ladies and gentlemen. Maggie is, again, Rochdale owes Maggie a debt it can never repay. Okay? Maggie was the first police officer to confirm what was being said was actually true. What we were saying all them years, she came out and she went, they just didn't want you to know. We knew, but they didn't want us to know. Because why? Because we want accountability for those failings. But we're still waiting for that today. We're still fighting for that today. I'm still doing protests today for the same accountability. Guys, we've got to step this up. Nazir Afzal, ladies and gentlemen, he deserves a cheer. Really does. He really does. Because again, Rochdale owes its man a debt it can never recover. Let me explain what Nazir Afzal did. Nazir Afzal took over as Crown Prosecution for Greater Manchester. He was ordered by Home Office not to act. He was told by the Crown Prosecution boss, Keir Starmer, not to act. He ignored them. He went and did an itinerary check and found a baby fetus that was a product of a groom case, product of a child, a dead child in a fetus who belonged to one of the groomers. It was on that he reopened the case and convicted the 9 Rochdale groomers. That man deserves a round of applause. I'm just going to read his statement from the time. You may not know this, but back in 2008, not 2010 or 12 like they told us initially, 2008, the Home Office sent a circular to all police forces in the country saying, as far as these young girls who are being exploited in towns and cities, we believe they've made an informed choice about their sexual behaviour. And therefore it's not for you, the police officers, to get involved.
Bastard.
That's facilitation of child abuse. That's enablement of child abuse. That's an accountable action. That's in the dock action. That's go to jail action. These must be absolute shame on them. And I'm going to tell you who sent the memos, from where and when.
Alderman Brown, 2008.
But first I'm just going to cover a couple of the reports that cover Rochdale. The Labour MP, Anne Coffey, she was the first one. Well, tell a lie, it was Val Mellor report. But try and find it if you can. I can't. I've got all the reports. I have them. I've had them for years. The Val Mellor report is untraceable. Cannot find it. If anyone can source it and get it from me, it'll be maybe the final piece of the jigsaw. But I can't get it. I've tried. We've tried for years. Real Voices, Anne Coffey, the MP for Rotherham, I believe. I believe she was a Rotherham MP. I'm not so sure. She definitely worked Rochdale, but she did a report called Real Voices, where it showed the level of abuse that are not just in Northview, not just by grooming gangs, but in the children's home, the very most vulnerable of children in Rochdale. Ladies and gentlemen, I was one of those children. I was in Foxholes. My abuse took place there. It wasn't until I read this I knew that it hadn't even been spoken about. Yeah, it's never been spoken about. Other than in the Ixter inquiry, it's never been spoken about since. And I think I'm all right. I've got you guys with me. I'm all right. I've got Alan. I've got my people. But these kids have got no one. These kids had no one. And the very people charged to look after them was facilitating their abuse. Again, those responsible must be held to account.
Yeah.
In comes Andy Burnham. The first act was obviously the Ixter report. He got the information from the Ixter report, followed 0 recommendations, held 0 people accountable. And I will be honest with you here today, guys, I can categorically tell you not one person has ever been convicted over the abuse at Northview School or Cambridge House or Foxholes. Not one person. I'm talking about hundreds of children. Never been accountability. So it come Operation Augusta. I mean, has anyone here read Operation Augusta? Yes. It's the most deplorable report of a child abuse case I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot. This was vile, what was happening. There was forcing the children to drink bleach. There was passing around, not 10, 20, 30, 40 men. Look at the signs I put around where it says, I just closed my eyes and waited for it to stop. So we have to make this stand for them, guys. Then along came Operation Span. And just when I thought I'd seen the worst of the worst, it got even worse in Operation Span. Again, the same crimes. Again, 10 years later. I was told in 2014, excuse me, I was told in 2014 the landscape in safeguarding children has changed. It wouldn't happen again. And it did with Operation Span. Not only did it happen again with Operation Span, but as we speak and as I stand here before you today, Operation Lytton had 58 paedophiles on bail in Rochdale alone. 58 paedophiles on bail in my town of Rochdale today alone. Just work that out, how many's in your town, guys? I reported this. Where's Debbie Barrett-Cole? Debbie, 24/7 in Oldham. How many years ago? Raja, how many years ago did I tell you about this building? 5 years ago. There you go. That's what's been released this week in the trial that's up in Mitchell Street Crown Court. I was right, we was right. And again, we was just being agitators, we was just far right, we was just being racist. If they'd have listened to what I was telling them, hundreds of children wouldn't have been abused. Again, that's accountable action. Again, people for that decision must be held to account.
Accountability now!
I'm the one of the people who should be held to account, Sir Peter Fahey. I could add Ian Hopkins, I could add, I forgot the name of the other one. Nick Hopkins. No, the one before it, not Hopkins. Steve Haywood. Steve Haywood, the crook. He was the biggest crook in Greater Manchester. So, Peter Fire, if you watch Betrayed Girls, somebody raised your hand and said you watched Betrayed Girls, right? There was a senior police officer in there who made that remark, which was repeated from the Home Office. These girls' chaotic lifestyles were the reason for their own abuse, so the police won't get involved. That was this man. That was this man. He should be able to count. He's retired now, sat with a big fat pension, like maybe a knighthood in the offing because of his great service to the state. But for me, he should be in the dock. For me, he should be able to account for the facilitation and enablement of child abuse right across Greater Manchester.
Clear here. Throw away the key.
There we go. Now it gets juicy. Former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown sent out an executive order for no action on these gangs, no action on the grooming gangs. He sent it to his deputy, who was at the time Home Office, Jackie Smith, the butcher of Iraq. Jackie Smith, she sent the memo. She was the Home Secretary. She sent the memo to the police. It was off her desk, the memo was signed. She must be in the dock, she must be able to account. I mean, this woman should be able to account for a lot of things, but this is one of the things I'm after her for. Jackie Smith, the most deplorable woman. This is a woman turning a blind eye to child abuse. It's time she paid the price, it's time she got put in the dock. Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this one. Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Yeah, I don't think he can hear you. Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions who decided not enough. I'm not going to... He did it with Jimmy Savile just before, but he continued to do it with the Rochdale grooming gang and the Oldham grooming gang and many at Telford grooming gang. It was on his say-so that the Crown prosecution did not pursue. For that was an accountable action. You all right, lads? That was accountable action, and again, not should he just be in the dock, but he certainly shouldn't be Prime Minister. Well, I'd send him over to an island on his own, maybe with Epstein, I don't know, he's probably already been. But this guy is the pitch, we all know why. This guy was responsible, it was his duty. He's not bound by politicians at the time, he was bound by law. He was the head of private prosecution. He absolutely failed our children. Not just, I'm going to just pull them three back out again. These people aren't just responsible for the abuse in Rochdale. Complicit.
Enablers. Encouragers.
These three people are complicit in the abuse of the United Kingdom's children. Not just in Rochdale, no, right around the country, because they was the head of the table. It was them that could have stopped it. It was them that didn't. It was them that decided it was better for votes just to leave it alone. And on the back of that, ladies and gentlemen, hundreds of thousands of children in the UK was abused. That's complicit. That's accountable. And that's why we march here today. Over the last 7 days, there's a trial going on at Meashall Street Crown Court. Another Rochdale trial. Another 7 groomers in the dock. And I'm seeing headlines like this. These are all from this week. Vulnerable youngsters were treated as sex slaves. It's there, it's in the national newspaper, it's in the local newspaper. You've seen the signs around, guys, all the paper articles are there. I've not brought them all with me today, they're all on the signs. But I want to talk about this guy and the reason why I'm here in Manchester today. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Burnham. The reason why we stand here today is not, he's not no mayor of mine, because my mayor is Nick Buckley. Andy Burnham took a recent decision on the 16th of December. He decided to give survivors of Rochdale a Christmas present. When he told us the officers exposed in the ICSA report, exposed in Operation Augusta report, exposed in Operation Span report, would not face any justice.
Shame on them!
Shame on them, exactly. And for that, I believe that's accountable, and again, I think that's facilitation and complicity, and I believe that's complicit in the abuse of children. I'm here today to urge Andy Burnham to do a U-turn and charge those officers responsible and do it now. Don't wait, don't delay. The people of Greater Manchester, the people of United Kingdom do not accept your decision. We want you to turn your head. We want you a U-turn from you. If we don't get one, then we'll be knocking at your door, but we won't be storming like them old ladies did. And while I'm on that subject, the Million Women's March, I'm absolutely furious, guys. I came over on Monday to support that march. Them ladies did nothing but cover themselves with class. They was absolutely well behaved, they was respectful. They said in the Manchester Evening News that we stormed the building. It was absolute lie. 2 people went to the front desk and had to speak to someone. Guys, it was an absolute fabrication. Let me just say to any of the million women who are watching, I love you guys to bits. Thank you, because you've helped me, because I was there. You fed the fire. You fed the fire. You showed me class, and I learned how to do it correctly because of you guys. So I absolutely take my hat off to you, and again, thank you. And the lies spread in the media, nonsense, take no notice of it. What you did on that day will echo for hundreds of years, so thank you. Guys, I meant to do it at the start. I meant to do it at the start, but I'm going to do it now because I actually forgot. Before we arrived today, there's a young girl who had her life taken over here in a road traffic accident. It's the reason why it's so quiet. I want us all now to send our condolences to the family who've just lost a child. There's nothing worse on this earth than losing a child. And for that, I'd like to hold a minute's silence. If you're with me, bear with me. Starting now. Impeccable, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we can all say we send condolences to the family and offer them the wishes that they can recover, because like I said, there's nothing worse than losing a child. Before we crack on and I start picking my next speakers, guys, I just want to say we've been called names for doing this for years. I've been far right, I've been an agitator, I've been this, I've been that, but I told you, show them my son. We're not far right, we were just right so far. Right, next one up. I've told you everything. I've told you everything about Rochdale. Well, the next guy's going to speak to you about Oldham. The two, Rochdale and Oldham, and the abuse go hand in hand. Please give an absolute legend, an absolute round of applause, Raj Amir, ladies and gentlemen.